All right, everybody, welcome to NorCal Sports Network. And this is the same hat that Brock Purdy's dad wears. Chat loves it when Marty Lurie comes on.
Anytime you lose a game this time of year, when you can't go backwards, it's a problem.
All right. Welcome on into NorCal Sports Network. And we are joined by special guest Cody from the Even Year Dynasty Show. And we're going to cover a little bit of the Cubs-Brewers Game 5 tonight. We'll talk a little bit about that, but then we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of things. We'll be talking about the Giants' managerial search and maybe some things what the Giants may look to do or need to do during the off-season. As always, this show is brought to you by Chapman Law Group. Chapman Law Group is located in Marin, licensed in all of California. Make sure you give Chapman Law Group a call for all your legal needs. You can reach them at 415-613-9483. There's a number on the screen. Chapman Law Group. Let them know NorCal Sports Network sent you. And as we like to say, do not settle with an insurance company before contacting Chapman Law Group, as you may be leaving thousands of dollars on the table. All right, Cody, good to see you. Kill the band there. Cody's dealing with a little bit of cold, a little under the weather, but we'll see if we can get through this. Cody, if you guys don't know, does a great show on a channel called Even Year Dynasty Show with him and Dan and Ricky, and they do a great job every Friday night. I think is their regular night, right? Friday nights.
Yeah, during the off season will be Friday nights. During the season, it's usually Thursdays.
Okay,
so,
Thursdays.
Yeah.
Okay, so Thursdays during the regular season, which is generally, not always, but generally a day off for the Giants. Yeah. It's either a Monday or Thursday they usually have off. But man, it's great to have you, Cody. If you guys know, he's been a semi-regular contributor on the channel, giving us minor league updates, and you can look on his Twitter, as you can see right there below his name, at EYD Show on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it these days. And he puts up a lot of great posts there about the Giants and the minor leagues. And lately been doing some interviews. You guys have been doing some interviews with some of the minor leaguers, which is great hearing that. Yeah. And hopefully some of the guys that you're talking to will make it to the big club in a couple years or so. And then you guys will say, hey, I remember you guys when you were just a prospect.
Yeah. We've got 3 guys coming in the next couple weeks that I think have a shot possibly being on the roster next year at some point. So,
oh, really?
There'll be some good names coming up.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Nice. Maybe make the roster. Okay. I'm going to guess one of them might be a relief pitcher.
That is correct.
I think I know who
that
you're
would be
about.
The easiest pathway to the roster.
Yeah. But speaking of relief pitching, what do you think tonight? Both clubs had to go with openers as, my goodness, I was thinking about this. In fact, I put a tweet out today. Look how much the game's changed. In the Giants' heyday, their world championships years, they could go with Lincecum, Mad Bum, Kane, and Vogelsong, or depending on what year it was, somebody else. And the only team that seems to be able to, that's loaded up on starting pitching, is the Dodgers right now. They've got a slew of guys that can start, and then they've got guys in the bullpen that were starters. So this game tonight was kind of like, my goodness, it's a 5-game series. What are you going to do, Milwaukee, when it's 7-game series?
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see what Milwaukee does here. The Dodgers, we kind of saw it. Like you mentioned, a couple of their starters are actually in the pen right now. Guys like Glasnow, who I think started a game and pitched in relief in 2 games in the series. So they're kind of doing the thing you see a lot in the minors where guys like piggyback a little bit, where it's like, hey, we're going to try and get, 4 or 5 innings out of this guy, and then we might throw you 3 right afterward, because I mean, it just goes to show how little they trust their bullpen right now. I think Dave Roberts has like 2 or 3 guys that he has faith in, and the rest of the pen has been horrible all year.
Yeah, all year.
So yeah, so I mean, Roberts is not shy about, doing something like that, where they're going to have Roki closing games and Glass now coming out of the pen, because and you'll know when he's waving the white flag on a series, because he'll throw guys like Tanner Scott out there or on a game where he's just like,
when Tanner's exactly.
Not
Aaron says hope he is wrong, but probably LA in 6. Well, you're probably, you have to lean Dodgers if you're thinking, smart money, I guess. If you're rooting with your heart, you're obviously in a Giants fan, you're obviously rooting for the Brewers. I'm representing the Brewers hat. I do have a little bit of, I don't know if it was an omen or not, but I walked into my studio tonight and you could see all the hats, all 30 teams' hats are up there except the A's, because I lost the little sticky thing. So it's sitting right here. But the Brewers obviously above the Cubs. But I walked into my studio and, believe it or not, there was 2 hats down on the carpet in the room, and you would never guess the 2 hats. It was the Cubs and the Dodgers. And I thought, maybe Milwaukee just took out the Cubs and next means the Dodgers. That would be pretty cool, actually. And, I heard a stat tonight, guys. The Dodgers, the Brewers payroll is $122 million. $122 million. The Dodgers penalty tax, or whatever you would call it, is $150 million. They're paying more in penalties for their payroll than the entire Brewers payroll. This is David versus Goliath coming up.
Yeah, it is. I mean, as far as talent goes, the one thing that I do give the Brewers a lot of credit for with the way they played this season, and why I give them a chance in this. I mean, we saw them. I think they went 6-0 against LA. Now, it's a regular season. You can throw that in the garbage. Doesn't really mean anything once October rolls around. But the one thing they do that Philadelphia 100% did not do is Milwaukee, generally speaking, does not beat themselves. They don't go out and make careless errors and gift free runs, which you cannot, and extra outs to a team like the Dodgers. The Phillies, they choked away 2 games in a 5-game series. You can't do that. I mean, if you really think about it, they should have probably won game 1 and they should have won game 4. It is what it is. So, I don't think Milwaukee would do that, which is good. But, there is definitely a talent disparity there. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like you say, Milwaukee doesn't beat themselves. Now, regular season doesn't count for much, but as Oroku says, they have all the confidence until they lose. They beat the Dodgers 6 out of 6 this year. Yeah. 2 sweeps, 1 in Milwaukee, 1 in LA. We'll see what happens here. The Dodgers are just so loaded. I'm assuming they're going to go with Blake Snell in game 1, or they could go with Ohtani. Who knows what they're going to do, but they can go 4 deep. And the way the playoff system is, you don't need any more than 4, because there's 2 in Milwaukee, Monday and Tuesday, and then there's a travel day for Wednesday, and then it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday in LA, and then it will be Sunday off if necessary for any other future games, and then it's Sunday, Monday back in Milwaukee. So it should be fun. This is the first game all season long where the Brewers won with 3 solo home runs as their only run. So interesting. Yeah. Because they are more of a grinded out, scrappy, move the line type team. And tonight they hit 3 solo home runs. It would be pretty interesting in the year that Bob Uecker passes that they win it all. I for one, Cody, I've said this on the show a few times. I would love to see, just for just pure fun sake, Seattle versus Milwaukee.
Yeah.
I'm sure you know the story. Seattle Pilots were 1 year in existence in 1969. They folded because they had no money and the stadium wasn't even completed. They moved to Milwaukee and became the Brewers. So that would be a pretty cool type thing. Plus, the Mariners have never been to the World Series. The only team in baseball, the only franchise in the current 30-team makeup that's never had a World Series appearance. So I'm not talking title, we're talking appearance.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean, Milwaukee, Seattle's been what I've been rooting for since the playoffs. When it became completely apparent the Giants were going to be nowhere to be found there, I was like, all right, I'm hoping for Seattle, Milwaukee. It would just be a nice couple teams that haven't been there in forever, or at all in the Mariners case. And I mean, it's kind of cool. I mean, looking
when's
at
the last time the
American
Brewers
League,
were there? Was it 82?
82, yeah,
82.
and then the Blue Jays, it's the 90s, like 93, I think, when Carter hit the walk-off.
That's right.
92 or 93.
I knew the Brewers played the St. Louis Cardinals in the 82 World Series. And my memory, did St. Louis win that? Why am I thinking?
I believe so. I don't think
I know
Milwaukee's
it went 7.
won it.
It went 7.
Yeah.
I remember that. Interesting. Yeah. In 93, of course. Yeah. You mentioned the Joe Carter walk-off. They won it in 92 and 93 back to back. They're only 2 times that they've actually been to the World Series. So, I think everybody but unless you're a Dodger fan, I think the whole country's rooting for Milwaukee.
Yeah, Milwaukee lost in 82. They have
7
no titles. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that was wait a minute. 82. That was the year Jack Clark was on that team, wasn't it? Wait a minute. Was he on the Cardinals in 82? Trying to think. He came up with the Giants in the 70s. And I know he went to St. Louis in a trade. I know he played in this World Series against the Royals, but I can't remember if he was on that team, Jack Clark. Maybe somebody could look that up. If Jack Clark of the Giants, he was my favorite player growing up. In fact, I had his jersey, number 22, by the way. It was him and Will Clark both wore 22, which is kind of ironic. I guess old clubhouse guy Mike Murphy thought had a second guy named Clark, just said, well, I'll give you 22 as well. Little did he know it would be retired.
Save him some work.
Yeah. So tonight's game, though, it was 3 solo shots for Milwaukee. They got one in the bottom of the first from Contreras. And then the Cubs tied it in the top of the second. And then in the bottom of the fourth, it was Andrew Vaughn from Cal going deep. And that made it 2-1. And that score stayed all the way until, was it the 7th or 8th they scored? I think it was the 7th. Yeah, bottom of the 7th, Bryce Terang hit the biggest shot of the night. That one actually was long gone. Put him up 3-1. And Milwaukee and even their manager, Pat Murphy, referred him as, they've been referred to as average Joes all season long. And but you know what? That just goes to show you that if you play sound, fundamental baseball, get some timely hits, and you don't strike out a ton, and you actually are getting good pitching, the fundamentals, the three fundamentals of the game: pitching, hitting, defense, if you're playing all of them at a, fundamentally sound, you're going to win a lot of games. And so this kind of has me thinking as we kind of shift. Well, before we get into the Giants, let's just go over these series real quick. You got Dodgers and Milwaukee, 1-3 seed. The 2 seed, the Phillies didn't make it. And in the American League, you got the 1-2 seed, Toronto, Seattle. So this whole thing about the bye the last 2 years is kind of, I think, the first few years of the teams that had byes were getting eliminated early. And there was talk of like, hey, they're at a disadvantage. They've had a week off. This isn't like football where you actually, benefit from a week off. It's baseball. Guys lose their timing. Well, that seems to have been put to rest the last 2 years. So what do you think going into these 2 series? I know who you like or who you want. Your heart says Seattle and Milwaukee. I bet your head probably tells you the exact opposite is my guess.
Well, so I mean, of course, LA's got to be the favorite of all 4 teams, like by a lot. Like they're going to be the betting favorite, and there's a reason for that. Until you to want, the whole, if you want to be the champs, you got to beat the champs. And at the end of the day, they're still the champs, and they shift into another gear when they hit October every year. Yeah, or the last.
They just gear up for that.
Yeah, so I mean, they spend all year just preparing themselves to be healthy and ready to rock when October goes, and they have that luxury with the roster they have to be able to coast. So Dodgers, I would say, easy favorite. Just like I said earlier, I think Milwaukee at least would have a chance in that series, just the way they play. It's very similar to that 2023 Diamondbacks team that took down LA, that does a lot of, can score runs in a whole bunch of ways, plays great defense, steals bags, and they can pitch enough overall. So I'll give them a chance, but probably going to be Dodgers in like 6 games or something like that, like a few people have mentioned. The other series, I can't say I have a great feel on. And the Mariners are definitely going to be at a significant disadvantage for game 1. Unless Brian Wu is going to be healthy and available for the second round, and they can just slot him in as the game 1 starter, which I don't know if he's available or not. They had to leave him off the DS series roster because he was hurt. If he is, that would actually, that would even it up a little bit, because they had to burn like their entire rotation in that 15-inning game. They were going through, Gilbert or Kirby started, Gilbert came in, Castillo came in. I feel like I'm forgetting somebody, but there was at least, I think, one more.
Gilbert, Kirby started, Castillo came in, Gilbert came in. 3 of their starters that I recall last night. But I think if Wu is, I was thinking the same thing. If Wu's available, they're going to probably start Miller is what I'm hearing. And they may try to piggyback with Wu. And if they can get 4 good innings out of Miller, that would be a miracle, because Toronto his bats are, they hit everything. But then if you can then bring Wu in for 4 and get to Munoz, and you can make it through, because I don't think Wu's going to be able to pitch, probably even if he was available, probably more than 60, 70 pitches at the most, because he hasn't pitched since the 19th of September. So it's almost, by tomorrow night's game, it's 3 full weeks. He's not going to be able to go out and throw 90 plus pitches at all. So we'll see how that goes. But I do like Seattle over Toronto for one reason. If the longer the series goes, I think you might have a favor Seattle because of their starting pitching. If they can get past, if they can split in Toronto and reshape themselves, get themselves reset for games 3 through 5 in Seattle, with their pitching. Toronto really only has two starters, Gosman and Savage, that are that's it.
You would
Lauer.
easily say Seattle has the advantage, almost any start. And I mean, that's not to disrespect someone like Kevin Gausman, but I mean, Gausman would probably be like their third starter on the rotation if everybody's healthy, you know, like they just have a better rotation top to bottom. But, you know, as we talk about these two teams, and this is how I kind of described it on our live yesterday. I do feel like Toronto is very much like a sum of its parts offense. Like they seem to all work off each other, and they play great small ball. They do hit for some pop, obviously, but you know, they don't strike out. They put just endless pressure on starters. And Seattle, it's a little bit of the opposite. There's some swing and miss in there, and you've got a whole bunch of guys that can do damage when you have guys like Gino Suarez and obviously Cal Raleigh and, you know, J-Rod and Arozarena and Naylor. And it's like they have all these guys, but they don't play small ball.
Even Polanco occasionally will.
Yeah.
Last night I had a parlay in the game, and it was I looked at I got a tip from a buddy that said, hey, check this out. These guys have hit great off these individual pitchers. Carpenter had like 5 home runs off of Kirby lifetime in 5 hits or something like that. So I says, okay, I'll take Carpenter to go deep and Polanco to go deep. And the odds were like, I can't remember what it was, plus, I don't know, 3,600 or something, whatever it was.
Yeah.
It was like a $25 bet to win 940 something. And I'm like, and when Polanco came up in the leadoff, I think it was the 11th, he hit one that off the bat, I was at a wedding and I was watching it on my phone, and you saw the lift, the launch angle was pretty good. And I'm like, I started yelling because it was a small wedding. There was only about, it was a friend of mine's wedding, and everybody looked, because a few of the guys there were kind of rooting for me because they knew the bet. I thought he got it. And I was like, no way. It was unfortunately it went to center field, and it was right in front of the warning track. So he didn't quite get it all, but off the bat, it looked good. So those series could be, like you said, the Dodgers have the clear favorite, but the one thing that if Milwaukee can somehow, if they win the first 2 and they're 8-0 against the Dodgers, and they've got 5 left to play, and they've got 2 of them still in their back pocket at home, that, but I'll say this, if for some reason the Dodgers win the first 2 in Milwaukee as they did in Philadelphia, it's over.
Yeah.
It's over.
Well, I mean, honestly, it's pretty funny when the Dodgers came back and won Game 1 in the fashion they did. I mean, I called series right then. I was like, Philadelphia's not recovering from this. The way they just lost Game 1, like, they're not going to recover. And I thought they would win Game 2 and then lose both in LA. I still had it as LA in 4. They ended up obviously losing both in Philadelphia and then taking Game 3. But I was like, after they lost, the way they lost Game 1, I'm like, this team's not going to recover from that. When they had their ace on the mound and he absolutely shoved LA for, 7 innings or whatever it was, and then they just coughed it up immediately.
Yeah.
It's like,
very frustrating. Very frustrating. Yeah. All right. So let's we'll talk about this, maybe when the series is done, but it should be 2 interesting series. Baseball is an unbelievable time of year in the playoffs. You're talking an all-time great game last night in an elimination game for both teams, and everything's on the line. It was actually the longest postseason game that was a deciding game in a deciding game, 5, 7, or whatever, 3, whatever you call it. But it was the longest post. We remember Brandon Belt in 14, the 18th inning home run. That was Game 2, I think, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was Game 2. So let's move into the Giants since we're talking, we just mentioned Brandon Belt. Cody here was, I don't know if anybody else said it. He was the first guy that I heard talk about Nick Hundley as a manager candidate for the Giants. And we're talking months before. This is like halfway.
This is like a year's thing, Dan.
Yeah. Oh, is it a year?
Years.
Okay.
Like, plural.
Yeah. It was last year, 2 years ago, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is way, way before anybody was talking about, Melvin being canned or whatever. So this is it's sounding like a huge possibility. I don't know what Buster's going to do. I've read something today about Brandon Hyde, who won 101 games in 23 with the Baltimore Orioles, won the division, and then they got off to a rough start this year. He got let go early on in the season. Didn't really seem to matter for Baltimore. They continued to not play that well. What do you think is going to happen, and when do you think it might happen?
Yeah, I mean, so it's pretty interesting. If you go back to 2 years ago, Bob Melvin was hired on October 25th. So, I mean, we're exactly 2 weeks from that. I don't know if that's the kind of timeline they're looking on. You would almost think we would have heard of more candidates by now. Obviously Hyde has been mentioned, Kurt Suzuki, Kurt Casale has been mentioned. They've said that Nick Hundley has actually had multiple interviews already, which I find interesting. And then when you kind of read, I don't know if you read the Baggerly piece or if anybody else.
Yeah, I did read the Baggerly piece.
He almost makes it sound like the ball's in Hundley's court right now. And if he wants it, it's his. So if that is true, and I mean, who knows if it's true or not? I mean, like I've just kind of said in the past, like none of us are in those discussions, so it's hard to know what is and isn't true. But if that's true, and I don't think Baggerly's the kind of person to just throw BS out there like that, this could be quick. I mean, if Hundley wants a job, this could be something where we hear an announcement very soon. If Hundley decides he doesn't, and that's where you're seeing them still bringing people in, Albernaz is a name. Albernaz is honestly the person I actually thought would be kind of favored for this job. Hundley was the one I want. But just kind of given his track record with the team and with Posey and all that, I could have seen that happening. A bit more experience, obviously. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty hard to know. I think if there's truth to that, like I could see this being wrapped up very quickly.
Okay.
But if he says no, and I mean, if for those that read the Baggerly piece, there's a lot of reasons why he might say no. I mean, he said no last time he quoted family, and I mean, like, that could have been true. But I'm sure Dan's done this too. We've also all used family as an excuse to not do something we just didn't want to do. And like at times, like it's a thing. So
yeah. Speaking of family, I've got to leave right now.
Yeah. He's like, all right, see ya. Yeah, but
so tell us some of the reasons, because I've heard it, but a lot of people listening in the chat live right now, and those who will be watching this later, tell us some of the reasons why you like Nick Hundley as the choice for manager of the Giants, and why you've been so high on him for the last year or two.
Yeah, I mean, so my big thing with Hundley, and this is actually funny, I didn't even know that him and Buster were like friends. Like I figured Buster like respected him. He was obviously very well respected by the clubhouse. I have always been partial to former catchers, and yeah, I get it. A lot of people are like, Bob Melvin was a former back, whatever. I get it. They're not all going to be winners. Like we all know. But I've always been, a little bit partial towards catchers in particular. I think the learning curve is significantly shorter for them. We saw it with Vogt. Now Vogt did coach for a year with Seattle as their bullpen coach. So, I mean, he had a little bit, but with these guys are already, doing the preparation, the scouting reports, they're handling bullpen, they're handling the pitching staff. They're doing all this preparation beforehand. So, and they're already kind of leaders in the clubhouse. So these are guys that are doing quite a few of the things that you do as a manager, not even in that role. So I've always been a bit partial there. but aside from that, you have a Willie Mack Award winner. He's clearly respected by his clubhouse. The way he played the game and went about it, if you listen to him his whole career, very, kind of a hard-nosed player, played the game the right way. I look at this team for years now, and under Kapler, they did a better job of this. Now, we all didn't like other aspects of his managerial style, but they at least played the game like they didn't play sloppy baseball. Under Bob Melvin the last 2 years, it has been sloppy, horrible situational baseball, and I just sick of it. I want somebody that's going to hold players accountable. I know for a fact, like Hundley, that's his, like he's not just going to be buddy with every single person in that clubhouse. He wants the game played the right way. And I do think that he views the game very similar to Buster, and you're going to have two guys that can kind of work in lockstep with each other if you go that route. So I just think it's a good fit. Now, that said, they absolutely need to get experience around them. And we kind of talked about it yesterday. That's where a guy like Hyde, they might have been bringing him in as hey, maybe if he's not going to get a job as a manager somewhere, maybe we can bring him in as a bench coach and get some experience on the bench. Or,
interesting. That's a good point.
Maybe they call up Ron Wotus and see if they can convince him to do it for a year or two, I think he needs to get experience in that coaching staff with him. But I really like him as the guy to kind of spearhead the clubhouse for, hopefully a long time.
Yeah. So, I met Nick at the baseball winter meetings in San Diego in December of 22, or was it 23? Whatever year the Astros won it, right after the Astros won it. It was the year Arson Judge. What was that? That was the 23 offseason,
yeah,
right?
22-23.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I was on the floor. Funny is I'm down there on the floor in San Diego watching, and I'm actually this is a true story. I'm seeing Susan Slusser. There's this buzz around the hotel with the Judge news, and nothing's come out yet. And I'm watching Slusser and John Heyman walking together. And so I follow him, and Heyman turns around at me because I'm like, being a past. He turns around, he kind of looks at me and is like, leave us alone.
Can I help you?
Or maybe that's what he said. Can I help you? Something weird. But I was like, hey, man, I'm just trying to catch something, see if I heard something. Because I knew it was about Judge because, Susan was trying to pick up from Heyman. I almost wonder if that whole thing was a plant, the way it came down. But anyway, I ran into to Nick, and I didn't realize he was with Texas at the time. I had, I had missed that he was, but really a super nice guy, really good guy. I really enjoyed, we just talked for 3-4 minutes, but I really enjoyed him. He was just very friendly, didn't have to spend any time with me. I was a nobody on the floor, but he took the time to talk, and I really appreciated that. So, but anyway, so if Hundley does, for some reason, either not get the job or turns it down, Rob C says he thinks it's JT. Who's SV, by the way?
Stephen Vogt.
Oh, Vogt. Okay.
JT probably deleted that tweet since then.
Yeah. I don't think it's gonna be Vogt. Yeah. It's interesting. A guy that I don't think it's gonna be this guy
was my first choice 2 years ago.
Who Vogt? Oh
yeah, Vogt was my first, and Hundley was right behind him. And
when they were Melvin, I was like, hire Stephen Vogt. Farhan had a chance, but he didn't. Yeah. But I have a selection that I would like to see, and I don't think it's going to happen because I think he's eventually going to be the Cardinals manager when Marmol gets moved. But I love Yadier Molina for the fact that he is I think the Giants need a guy that is not just a very good communicator who's well prepared. As a catcher, he was recognized as one of the most prepared players in the game. And he's a guy that commands respect. You kind of, almost to the point where he's a little. You don't want him. You don't want to let him down because he can be a little intimidating. And I think the Giants have lacked that type of manager in Kapler and Melvin back to back, who were kind of low pressured, low key. They weren't guys that really got in people's faces. That, especially, it seemed like Melvin. I mean, we watched some of the blunders that Ramos made last year, and it was just like there was no consequences or anything. And I don't know, Molina's from Puerto Rico, Ramos is from Puerto Rico. I was just thinking Benji Molina, Buster took his job, bring Benji back as a coach along with Yachty. Let the Molinas kind of run this organization, but I don't think it's going to happen. And I would be fine with Nick Hundley because I think but again, you're talking catchers, right? You're talking Kirk Suzuki, another catcher. Now the Suzuki is to me is interesting because I thought to myself, you imagine if you got a Kirk Suzuki and then you were able to go out and snag Murakama and
I don't know where to play him.
We need more first baseman and third baseman and DHs, Cody. I mean, we don't have enough.
He added first baseman, so maybe he's a fit there.
That's another thing. What are the Giants going to do when it comes to Bryce Eldridge? Is he going to be a first baseman? Is he going to be DH? I don't like him being a full-time DH at 21. I personally think they should have been working him at the corner outfield position. Just to get him a place to play in the field. If Devers wants to play first base, because what do you do?
Well, the funny thing is, and I mean, I'm sure Devers wants to play first more than he doesn't. I do laugh because a lot of people, when they traded from him, they're like, see, Devers just plays better when hits better when he's in the field. And I'm like, he was hitting just fine in Boston, DHing. Calm down. He can hit just fine no matter what he's doing. I do think Devers is a better defender right now, though. So you're probably going to want him playing first more than Bryce. But as Bryce showed, he improved as the year went. He was not a liability at first base. When they put him at first, he was fine. Is he maybe a little tiny bit below average? Probably. But I mean, considering I watched what he was last season, he's taking huge strides. There's no reason to think he can't eventually be a little bit above average defender there.
Nice target for the long throw from from third or the short.
Yeah. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't want him going crazy doing the splits out there like Dom, because the last thing we need is him ripping his hamstring or something. But he could be a solid defender over there, in my opinion, at least. But they're in a weird spot because I think ultimately you're going to look at him and Devers kind of splitting time at first if they're both on the roster, and splitting time at DH. I think they're going to kind of rotate them a little bit to keep Devers fresh and keep Bryce fresh and just keep him in the lineup. And I mean, while it's not ideal to have somebody clogging up your DH spot, especially a guy that's 21 years old, I don't think it would be forever. I don't think this is going to be a, hey, we're always going to have you as DH. I do think there's a point at which, as Devers gets a little older, they would probably go, all right, it's time. And now you're going to DH because we want to keep you on the field and keep Bryce in there.
28, going to be 29. He's got 8 years left on the deal. So there's a certain point of no return.
And to your point, I do think it would make sense to have him work in left field a little bit. That way he might make an occasional start out there. But that said, I mean, there is a reason why the team tried it and then very quickly went, nope, and moved on. So it was not pretty when they tried it out there a couple years ago. So I would still say get him work out there. And maybe it hits a point where you're comfortable enough to do it. But if not, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, this team won World Series. If you go back and look at their 3 World Series championships, I mean, they had Pat Burrell as their primary left fielder one year, who was horrible defensively. They had in the second year, obviously Melky was for most of the year, but I mean they played Huff and Belt out there at various
Belt
times
was
in
out there for a little
2012.
bit. Yeah.
And in 2014, Michael Morse was there, and then Travis
Yeah.
Ishikawa in the playoffs
Ishikawa.
were their primary left fielders for most of the year. It's like you can get by with a terrible defender in left field. You better have good defense in center and right, but you can get by with it in left if you can.
Speaking of that, you're talking about Ramos not having a great year defensively, and then Jung-Hoo Lee's metrics were second worst in the National League, or maybe second in all of baseball for center fielders who qualified for defensive. Well, I think it was a defensive run saved or something like that. But he was ranked, I want to say 17th out of 18 center fielders that qualified for number of chances. He looked like he was a little gun shy a little bit this year after, hurting his shoulder in the 24 season, second time that shoulder was operated on. So maybe he was kind of, and I can get it. I understand it. I mean, third time might not be the charm. It might be the end of his career if he, dislocates that a third time and has to have a third surgery.
Yeah. And then if you look at his, I'm not a huge fan of DRS personally. It's a bit more subjective as far as the analytics go. Like if we're going to, I'm a person that like, if we're going to use analytics, I would prefer the ones that have less of the subjectivity to them. And outs above average typically is, but he was still below average there. He was like -5. But you get a guy like Willie Adames, for example. I think he was worth 4 or 5 outs above average. But then you look at his defensive run saved, and it was like -3 or -4. So if you only looked at one, you'd be like, he was a bad defender. And it's like, no, he wasn't. He was a good defender this season.
Yeah.
It's just the timing of some of the miscues caused some things.
I'm reading some comments in here. I want to get comment. Tammy McDaniel has been, I don't know if she's a Dodger fan, maybe. But she's kind of making some shots at the Giants, which, I can't say I don't disagree with her. I mean, I think she's, wake up. Giants team is mediocre unless they make some big moves. This team is not going nowhere. I tend to agree with her. She does say this about the manager, and I meant to bring this up while we were on the manager subject, but I wanted to bring this out because we saw tonight Craig Counsell left the Brewers on his own, wasn't let go by Milwaukee, was considered, with the Brewers, he was widely considered probably one of the top 2-3 managers in the game, you'd say, right? At the time.
I think the Cubs made him the highest paid.
Yeah.
If I recall correctly.
So he goes to Chicago, and then his bench coach, Pat Murphy, takes over. And you see that a manager, I don't know how much a manager makes a difference as far as games won and lost during a season. It seems like Melvin, it seems like there was a few with the bullpen handling, though, that there was some definite issues there with the Giants this past year. But Craig Counsell went to the Cubs and lost to his former team tonight. So how much does the manager make a difference when it comes to wins and losses, do you think? Do you think it's 2 games a year, or plus minus what?
I think it could be, minimal. It could also be a good amount. It depends on what they're taking over, the culture they instill, and I don't think Melvin necessarily creates like bad cultures or anything like that. Like obviously the guys play hard for him.
Right.
He's respected by the players. It's just, to me, it was an accountability issue with Melvin. And would another manager have made the Giants a playoff team? Who's to know for sure? But at the end of the day, I do think what it can do is like change kind of a team's philosophy and the way they go about things, which can lead to a lot more success than you were experiencing under another manager, even with a similar roster. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be mainly a talent thing. I mean, you can't look at the Giants pitching staff right now and think, oh yeah, any old manager can just come in here that's not Bob and win 87 games or anything like that.
Right.
And I get it, only 83 is what it took to get in, but I wouldn't count on 83 being the number next season. I would still be thinking you're looking at needing 88 or so most years to get there. So yeah, I think a better manager would have made at least a few games difference. It might have been the difference between the Giants making the playoffs and missing the playoffs.
This year, yeah, with some of the decisions made with the bullpen guys. My biggest issue with the bullpen wasn't just not so much the guys that he had in there, but that he didn't have anybody else ready to go in case they faltered. It's like you didn't have a plan B in place, and by the time Walker had, completely discombobulated and blown up the situation, he was left out there because there was nobody hot in the bullpen to come and get him. So, that was kind of some of my issues. But all right, now we're going to switch over to something a little fun here. Yeah. I am the owner of the Giants, and I have given you not an unlimited budget, but you could go up to the luxury tax of $244 for next year. And if you convince me that it's critical we go slightly over because, 20, 30 million, up to 265, 275 range, if you find the right players you want, you are my Pobo. What are you going to do? You've got carte blanche to run this team. Here's your off season. Not that you can get these guys you want, but who do you want? And tell me what your plan is.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm looking at it realistically, so just first of all, some of the numbers, we were looking at this yesterday, so I have this right in front of me. They are currently $59.5 million under the tax as far as competitive balance tax dollars goes. If you look at the arbitration eligible guys, there's guys like Brubaker and Kisner. And I mean, you have a decision you can make on a Ryan Walker. He'll probably be there. But realistically, I think Kisner gets non-tendered. And then maybe Brubaker, you're not giving him $2 million. So I could see that happening as well. So you can add, another 3.5-ish million, get that up to like 63. To me, if I'm the Giants, first thing I'd be looking at doing, you need 2 starting pitchers. They don't have to be able to be front end guys. You don't have to go get, Fromber and Suarez or whatever. Or
maybe one of those.
Maybe one of those. I like Ranger Suarez.
Suarez is my guy too.
I really
Adrian
like
Hauser or somebody like that.
Yeah, you could try a buy low on a guy like Shane Bieber. See if he can, maybe you look at one of those 1, 2 year, 3 year deals or whatever, and see if he can bounce back. Guys like Zach Gallen, maybe they bounce back. Merrill Kelly.
I was going to mention Merrill Kelly. He's one of the only guys that doesn't have a qualifying offer attached or is eligible. He can't even have a qualifying offer
because he was traded, I think. So
right. So the other guys probably will, because why wouldn't you make a qualifying offer? Do the Giants want to pick up though 2 pitchers that have qualifying offers because of what the draft picks they've lost in the last year or so?
Since they reset last season and you're only losing 1 pick and then half the international money. Okay. You lose a second with your first and then a third if you sign a second. It's just like when they got Snell and Chapman. It's not like last year where they signed Willie and it was the 2nd and 5th. And they would have lost a 3rd and 6th if they got another. So I would say they probably don't sign 2 guys with that. And I wouldn't necessarily fault them for that. I don't think it's going to be a deterrent for them getting one guy, though. I don't think that's really an issue. And frankly, I'd be looking. I would want to get one guy kind of on the front end, a guy like Ranger, who, you can add him to the front end, and then when Robbie walks in a year, and you add the $25 million a year from Robbie, that off the books, he can kind of slot into where Robbie was in the rotation. And so I'd want one kind of front end guy. I'd want one guy that's like a end of the rotation, comfortable being a bulk guy out of the pen, whatever that might be. And I'd let him and, Tidwell, McDonald, Wizenhut, whatever, all those guys, I'd let them just compete in spring.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd feel pretty good about having 7-ish options that I'd be relatively comfortable with starting games. Because the reality is, like, is that enough? Maybe not, but you can't fix every hole on the roster.
Right.
Like, that's the problem. Yeah, there's a lot of good names on there.
There's your list. You got quite a few starting pitchers on there.
Yeah.
I mean, Cease, Valdez, Suarez, Flaherty can opt out. I'm assuming Milwaukee will pick up Peralta's option.
Yeah.
You got guys down here like Adrian Hauser at 33. That's a guy that you could probably pick up for not a huge contract.
Same with Eflin, maybe. I mean,
yeah,
I think he's
Zach Eflin. Yeah. A guy that's interesting on this list at 28 is Soroka. When he came up with Atlanta, he was supposed to be like an ace, like, and then he's had some trouble, but he's a guy that might, a lot of these guys that come up, you look at a guy like Casey Mize this year who bounced back after being a former number 1 pick, had a good season with Detroit. Now, the bullpen guys are not listed on this for some reason, but they're going to need a closer. I threw out something today that a lot of people would say, nah, because he's older. He's like 38 or 39. Kenley Jansen had a really good season, 29 of 30 save opportunities, only blew 1 save, had a whip of under 1, and had a pretty good ERA. K through 9 was decent. It was about almost 1 an inning. But it's a guy that just continued. And speaking of catcher, smart guy. I mean, really, really smart guy. And I don't know if you saw my tweet today that I'm trying to hold on here. I'm trying to get this back up. I just noticed on our screen, our little banner's gone there. So there we go. I'm not sure if you saw the tweet I put out today on Kenley Jansen, but this guy is just, he's cut different. He's just so cool as a, he just doesn't let anything, get him rattled. And I want to show everybody something that, if I can find it out here, where is, okay, here it is. All right, let me put this up. I'm going to play a clip from this. Okay, so here's my tweet from today, and I said the Giants should strongly consider Jansen as their closer this offseason. He's older, but won't require a long-term deal. Because I think a guy like Suarez is going to require at least 4 years. And I don't know if that's the right way to go, to put a ton of money into a closer, because they're so fickle. They could, relievers are, you look at Walker last year, he looked pretty good. And then this year he's completely off. And you see this a lot with relievers. So this past season, and Jansen's been so consistent for the most part in his career, but I want you guys to take a look at this clip. Hold on 1 second here. I gotta go back to it here.
Get him there until the very last second.
You guys see it now?
Pitch, gets the strike.
I know a lot of people that
we got something I've never seen before in this game. It is the 9th inning. There's 1 out, runner on second base, and the Dodgers are up by 2 runs. So Hayward's on second base, and Jensen is distracted by him. You see him staring at him there until the very last second. He throws the pitch, gets the strike call. Now he's going to stare at him again. And Hayward's like, well, if you're going to stare at me, I'll just try and dance a little, mess you up. But, yeah, there we go. Oh, no, he's good. Throws this pitch. Nasty breaking ball. Check this out. Whoop. swing and a miss because it vanished. Now they're going through their sequence of signs. You can see, and he's like, do those again, man. What are we doing now? Because they think Hayward is looking in at second base. He does have a perfect view. So they're going through the sequence. Jensen's like, this is confusing. What are we throwing? What's the sequence? What are the signs? I don't can we just come fucking here? Let's talk about this. You're screwing everything up, Hayward. See him look back. He's like, hey, I think it's 0-2. I'll just throw a fastball right down the fucking middle and it'll work. Okay, cool. There you go. Boom. Now with 2 outs, he turns around to his fielders and he says, I'm gonna balk. Because he does not want to deal with the nonsense of Hayward stealing signs, having to do a sequence. So you can see it right there. He picks up his right foot and he just starts tapping it. He balks. He goes, get on, get out of here. We're going to go back to normal sequences, normal calling. I don't care about you. You don't count. Only way you count is if this guy hits a home run, and he's not going to hit a home run off me. So just go to third base. Here we go. We're good to go. Normal signs, high fastball outside. Even I know that, and I am a simpleton. There we go. Nothing hard about that. High and inside fastball, swing and a miss. Later on, another high fastball, and the game is won. The old intentional balk. Never seen it before in my life.
There you go. You know, Jansen, I'm sure you're aware of this, former catcher. Came up as a catcher in the minor leagues. These guys are just, I mean, how cool is that? Not, you know, I hate it that he did it as a Dodger, but how cool is that? Just like, hey, you're stealing my signs. Get out of here. Go to third.
And you know, for anybody that's wondering, this is actually kind of interesting. To this date, Kenley Jansen still has logged more professional innings as a catcher than a reliever.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
So.
But you know, a smart guy, and he doesn't get rattled. He just like, and I think the Giants, you know, need somebody like that. We've had Duvall that was just such a head case, and Walker looks like a head case. I don't know. Peguero doesn't seem like he has the command to take the position. I think you need a professional closer, and I'm not willing to pay 4 or 5 years for it. I hope the Giants don't do that.
Yeah. They're in a tricky spot because they need probably 2 starters, and they need probably, if we're being honest, like 2 relievers. Yeah, I mean they need 4. A lot, but yeah, I mean they need a lot of relievers, but on the free agent market, trade market, things like that, you're probably looking at needing 2. And can they afford all that? You know, I mean, it's like I said earlier, I don't think you can reasonably fix every single issue. I think they're going to have to look internal for some of that. I do think they can absolutely afford 1 starter. I think they can absolutely afford a back end guy and I'm going to use this name, and a lot of people are going to not like it, but a Jacob Junis type that, you know, left the Giants, didn't get paid a whole ton with Milwaukee, and they could use him as a starter, as a reliever, as, you know, they could kind of move him around. Somebody to compete with some of the guys like Tidwell, McDonald, and et cetera. And I think you could afford that. I think you could afford at least 1 reliever. And I think if you're going to want to upgrade anything on the offense, it's going to have to come via trade. And we've talked about guys like, you know, Brendan Donovan, or, you know, if you're looking for like an everyday player, I think you're going to have to really focus more around the margins when it comes to that side of the ball this year, unfortunately. You know, maybe Jesus Rodriguez is a good option as a right-handed bat for catcher. Maybe you get, you know, a couple bench guys that are quality at bats, spot starters, just kind of raise the floor on the offense a little bit, get some speed in there. I mean, they're going to have to get a little creative. And frankly, when you look around at the free agent market for position players, it is not good outside of guys like Kyle Tucker, Bichette, and, you know, maybe even a Bellinger, who I wanted 2 years ago, but now it's like, I'm not paying him at 30. Like,
no, I wanted him too when they were, in fact, those winter meetings that I was at the year that they thought they had Judge, they were very close. He signed with Chicago, but Farhan, I don't know why he got so cheap. All he had to do is up his offer like $5 million, and he could have had Bellinger. But it came down to the Cubs and Giants, and for some reason, It just made no sense to me. But I want to ask you a question about going back to Bryce. Is there any world that you would trade Bryce Eldridge?
I mean, it would have to be like a genuine star coming back in that package. I mean, if Detroit, I'm going to use this as an example. If Detroit decides to trade Skubal and you have an extension in hand, because you can do that, you can call them and if they do the legal tampering or whatever, where you can try and work out an extension. Like if you can get an extension agreed upon, yeah, absolutely. You don't mess around with that. You just do that and you call it good. But I don't think. Yes, the Giants need more contact ability. They need less strikeouts. They need a lot of these things. But when you look at kind of Bryce's upside and his ability to drive in runs, his knack for the moment when he was down in AAA or AA or any of these, I do think a lot of that stuff is going to translate. It might not be right away. It might not be, April, May, June, whatever, but I think eventually we're going to see it translate. And you're talking about like a genuine star. And the power he possesses, they have not had, they have Rafi now, but until they had Rafi, they hadn't had a left-hander with that kind of power since Bonds. Like guys like Belt don't have the all-field power that a guy like Bryce had. So it's a tough situation. There's always going to be players out there that I would say, yes, I'm willing to move him for. But to me, it has to be a star with contract, with control. And if you're going to put him in a deal, I'm not trading him for, Brendan Donovan or anything like that.
Right.
So
now I threw out to you, we were texting this past week and I was kind of just toying with the idea. And you said, I don't think Miami would do it, but
yeah.
I said, how about Bryce for Xavier Edwards, who's an excellent athletic second baseman, hits for average, good contact hitter, and Edwin Cabrera, a starter coming back.
Yeah.
Why do you think Miami might not do that? Because they hate paying guys even in arbitration.
Yeah, I mean, they're a team that usually doesn't dump these guys until they're like ARB 2. It's kind of like the A's used to be. The A's would always pay guys through ARB 1. And then it was just everyone knew 2 years out, they're going to move these guys. Miami they operate similar most of the time. And I believe both those guys, I would have to look at Cabrera. I'm pretty sure Edwards is ARB 1. I think the way they finish the year, that Miami thinks that they can win. They played great ball for 3 or 4 months to finish the year. And I just don't think they're going to go in and dump these guys.
Their payroll, I'm just looking at this, the luxury tax is $63 million. That's their total payroll.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. It's they don't and they have some good players.
Is ARB 3.
Yeah. So he might be
I take that back. That's in 27. He's ARB 2. And I don't even think Edwards is ARB eligible.
I think he's pre-ARB. He's third year now.
Yeah.
So if you called Miami, and I don't know who they actually have playing first base. I'd have to look. I think Stowers is on the outfield, but
Stowers.
I mean, if you called Miami and you said hey, we'll trade you Bryce for Edwards, I think Miami would do that deal.
I wouldn't do that,
but I wouldn't. Yeah, there's no way I would do that.
No way. I wouldn't do that.
I love Edwards as a player. I really do. He's a great defender at second base. He's a 30 stolen base guy. He hits for a high average, but I mean, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, OPS is the end all, but I'm not trading Bryce Eldridge for a dude with a 680 OPS or whatever. That's not happening.
I think what happens if you got Alcantara and Cabrera in the deal back, just 2 pitchers? Would you do that? No Edwards, or maybe if you threw in if you got Edwards, we'll give you Johnny Level in the deal.
Yeah, I mean, my thing is Alcantara for me feels more name than anything right now. We're talking about a guy with an over 5 ERA last year.
Yeah, he was bad.
Now he might be really good. It was the first year coming off Tommy John. You're like relearning how to throw a baseball. We saw it with Robbie Ray, where he came back at the end of last year. He had no clue where it was going. He had no feel for any of his off speed. He barely had a feel for his fastball, and he was able to kind of work his way through it a little bit. But this year he was way better than he was at the end of last season. So Alcantara very well might be really good next year, but until he proves it, I'm not giving up.
I would tend to agree there. Just throwing out some stuff there.
And also the Giants system is better than a lot of people think. Like I don't think they have to give up Eldridge to get some of these guys. Now, it doesn't mean you're not going to give something good. I mean, you might be looking at Joshua, or you might be looking at Bo Davidson. You might be looking at take your pick of any of these young international guys that are in like San Jose right now, that whether it's Johnny Level or, guys like Luis De La Torre, Argenis Kayama, Keener Martin. Like they have some really intriguing arms there that I think a lot of teams would really like. But yeah, I mean, you're going to give up a good package. I just don't think Bryce is needed for a lot of these.
Okay. All right. So you're talking some of these international players. Speaking of international players, guys that have been with the Giants now for 6-7 years, but they look like they're at the end of the road. Luis Matos and Marco Luciano. What happens to these guys? Do they get traded, or do they make the roster in 26?
I would be incredibly shocked if Luciano is not moved. I just don't see where even he would be playing at this point. I just don't see it. Matos, I think there's at least a chance that he makes a club. But I would probably lean like 70-30 that he gets moved. Like, I don't think it's that super likely. I just think that there is a chance for him.
Are they getting what are we getting? A bag of peanuts back for these guys? What do you get for these guys at this point? I mean, it's kind of a Joey Bart situation.
Yeah, I mean, with Luciano, yeah. I mean, they got Austin Strickland for Joey Bart. You're probably getting a similar type player. Matos actually could make the roster, so I could see him holding more value. That's one where now it's not going to be great. Like you're the time to sell him would have been 2 or 3 years ago if you were going to do this, but he has something of value. I do ultimately think the team likes Gilbert more just with his defense. The bat, I need to see a lot more out of the bat, but I mean the defense and that they got out of him, I think they at least at minimum like him as a 4th outfielder.
Now we love Matos on NorCal Sports. Like you talking to some of the younger guys in on your show. I got a chance to meet up with Luis a couple years ago when he was in the Fall League, and here he is.
Hey, this is Luis Matos.
Got his line. One more, he totally forgot his line.
Hey, this is Luis Matos.
Great guy. I really like Luis. He's done a couple favors for me. Gave me a signed ball in spring training. Not this past season, the year before.
There he is.
Yeah. He gave me a ball to give
to my daughters.
Awesome. Yeah, he gave me a signed ball to give to one of our listeners, kid came down from Utah, and it was his birthday. And it says, "Hey, Luis, could you sign a ball for this kid?" So he did. Yeah. He wrote it out to him and stuff. That was really cool. But speaking of ACL or AFL, not ACL, AFL. It's going on, just starting up here. Yep. And the Giants they always send like 6. Any of these 6 guys, I haven't heard too much of these guys. I know you guys, cover so much more of the minors. I'm going to go see a few games. Anybody I should be looking out for?
Yeah, I mean, one I would say to keep an eye on is the left-hander Juan Sanchez.
Okay.
He missed all of the year. I don't know what the injury was. The time he missed makes you feel like it might have been like a labrum, Tommy John, something like that. He was similar to Reggie Crawford, where
what's going on?
he all of a sudden dropped out and Crawford supposedly had a setback, so who knows when we're ever going to see him, if at all. But Sanchez disappeared kind of mid-season last year and then did not pitch at all this season. And now he's in the fall. Like, I thought he was a candidate to like make the big league team out of camp.
Wow.
Like, he's a solid lefty arm. Now that said, the Giants do like some of their lefties, and I don't think they're going to keep like 4 left-handers in the pen next year.
Okay, so
and those seem to be
Juan Sanchez. Okay,
yeah, Sanchez is one to watch. Walker Martin, he was their second round.
Oh yeah,
pick
Walker Martin.
ago.
I know him. Yeah, he
Yeah.
was a kid out of Colorado that led
Yeah.
the nation in homers in his high school. Yeah.
Yeah, they moved him pretty much to third base at this point. He's got a ton of swing and miss, but
Aaron.
it's Gary Brown.
Leave it up to Aaron for the
that
humor.
Walker Martin, I'd keep an eye on him. Tons of power. He really improved as the year went. Like his numbers and his
He was at San Jose all year, right? For the most part.
And his strikeouts seemed to drop like throughout the year, and the numbers kept going up as the year went. Like he did improve. He's kind of reaching that point where you're like, okay, this guy really needs to take a step forward. And I think that's part of why they're, having him, having been in San Jose all year. I think that's why they're challenging him with the fall league a bit. Maui Ahuna, he's a guy that
he's the kid from Auburn, right?
Third round pick, Tennessee. Foster was Auburn.
Oh, Cole Foster. Cole Foster was Auburn. Okay.
If he's not already out of the system, he probably should be. That's all I'm going to go on there. Maui Ahuna, he has a lot of tools, a lot of potential. Hasn't been able to stay healthy. So he made it to Eugene, and then he got hurt in Eugene.
Okay.
It's like you look at his at bat totals each year, and it's a couple hundred. I mean, like he's really
I'll go check out. Yeah, Juan Sanchez, Walker Martin, and Ahuna. Those are 3 names I do recognize.
The last one you guys will recognize from the Doval trade is Parks Harbor.
Oh, okay.
He came to he's a little bit older. I think he's 23. But he absolutely mashed in both A ball and then in high A for New York. Then he came to the Giants. He was hurt at the time of getting traded, got healthy, absolutely crushed the ball the last couple months of the year after the deadline. So he's another one to keep an eye on. Another guy doesn't strike out a ton, has some good power. So I would keep an eye on him.
How did okay, those are the 4 guys. How about what happened with Sabian Sabalas? I know you were high on him, and then he started off well, and then did he kind of fade in Richmond?
Yeah, so Sabine had one of the worst first 4 months I think you could possibly imagine. After spring, he had that great spring, and a lot of guys do struggle in AA, and he absolutely had a horrible start. I think at one point he was hitting like $180 and had like a 580 OPS. Like it was ugly. The last 2 months, and I don't have the numbers in front of me right now, but the last 2 months he actually hit really well in San Jose or in Richmond.
They still have him playing third?
Yes. And he's solid at third. He made stood out with some stuff. At third.
Interesting. Well, if you can get more guys hitting in the minors, it just gives you more flexibility for trade options.
And his like walk rate, strikeout rates, those are all good. Like the under the hood stuff was really solid for him.
Yeah,
just had a rough time hitting overall.
That's interesting because that was one of was that the Soler trade? Was that when the Soler trade? Yeah. Okay. Which is pretty interesting. Coming from came from Atlanta, right? Yeah, we traded back to Atlanta, Soler, and then Soler ended up with the Angels, didn't he, or something? Yeah. Okay. So before we're almost wrapping up here. So you mentioned Reggie Crawford. The Giants have had Farhan had what, 6 drafts? 6, I think, right? 20 was his 2020 was his first, right? or was it 19? I can't remember when he got the job. He got the job.
It was 2019.
He got the job at the end of 18 and got the 19 draft. Okay. So 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. I think he
went Bishop. Yeah, it was Bishop, Bailey, Bednar, Crawford, Eldridge, Tibbs.
Yeah. So what I wanted to get is 3 of those guys completely injury prone. Just, you're talking Bishop and Crawford and Bednar. Any of these guys, I know Bishop's not going to be seen in a Giants uniform. Any chance that Bednar or Crawford ever show up?
Yeah, I mean, if Crawford can ever get healthy, like for him, it's a health thing. He actually wasn't like having a massive issue throwing strikes or anything. When he got promoted up to Sacramento, he was in the zone mostly, and he's throwing 100 miles an hour. His slider was solid. And then he had originally it was a bicep impingement. Then it came out that he tore his labrum. And then this year, they're like, okay, well, he's going to miss the rest of last season and then all of this season. And then it comes out that he had a setback. So I don't know if he's even going to be available next season at this point. If he ever does, he's got great stuff. Now, Bednar, he's been able to stay on the field the last couple of years.
Right.
He's kind of limited as a reliever now.
Or like
not
his brother.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he was having back issues. And that one, I don't even really fault Farhan on. And like the Bednar one, this isn't a guy that had issues coming out of college. Like he got up and all of a sudden back problems, shoulder, all this stuff popped up. It's like, okay, happens. Yeah. Same with Bishop, it's like he wasn't known as an injury prone guy in college. So it's kind of a freak thing. But
did the Giants sell their souls for those 3 World Series titles?
They might have. Yeah.
I'm kind of wondering what's happened to them.
Yeah.
I mean, they have made 2 playoff appearances since their 3rd World Series, 16 and 21, and they haven't won a series since 2014. So makes you wonder.
I did mention yesterday, we kind of looked at the list of guys that are going to be eligible to get grabbed on the Rule 5. I do think Bednar is a guy that would be worth protecting. This is a guy with genuine closer stuff. Like he might have better stuff than his brother. He has 3 pitches that are swing and miss pitches. Has no clue where they're going. I mean, it's a little. I
did see him in the fall league a couple years ago when Matos was in, and he got hurt again right in the fall league.
Yeah, and his stuff had deteriorated a little bit when he was coming off those injuries. Like his fastball was sitting in like the mid 90s. It was like 94 a lot, 95, and a lot of people didn't really. Like at that time, I'm like, okay, he better start because I mean, if this is what he's giving you out of the pen, you could probably do better. And now his fastball is like 99. It's got this crazy run to it. Like they talk about the shape. It's elite.
He was awesome in college. I remember watching that College World Series. I mean, he pretty much had like a Mad Bum World Series where
I would protect him. Like I would.
Yeah,
I think it's
they need
it.
Hey, that might be a closer type, like you say. And guys that can close, they can make the leap from even AA all the way straight to the majors. How about the 21 playoff team? I can't remember his name now. He got traded in that Dixon Machado deal to the Chicago Cubs but he was a reliever in the 21 playoffs. He came up. Can't remember that guy's name now. What was it?
Was it Caleb Killian, the one that went with
No,
Canario?
it wasn't Killian. No. It was a Dominican type guy, Latin player. I don't know if he was from the Dominican or where he was from, but he had nasty stuff, and then he just faded. He was gone. But I was like, I could look it up, but it was, he actually pitched in that series against the Dodgers. Somebody in the chat might remember him, but he was thrown in. He was kind of in that deal with Dixon Machado, which was kind of funny because Machado they only needed for like a series. He was only up for like 4-game series against the Dodgers. And I was like, why'd you get
Farhan
rid of
special.
that guy?
Random.
Yeah. Why'd you get rid of that guy? He had so much potential, but then he just, maybe they knew something. His arm was shot or anyway. Anyway, what you got going this week? You guys got a show tomorrow night, did you say?
Yeah, I mean, so we're not we're potentially recording tomorrow night, but not a live. It's going to be an interview that we're going to post. Unfortunately, we can't get every person to do the interviews live. Some of them are in different time zones. We got to get creative on the times, and I'm not going to run live during a football game or anything like that. So it would be kind of pointless. So we do have a few. I have to double check and make sure tomorrow's confirmed, but we've got somebody that could be competing for a spot on the Major League roster tomorrow. Monday, I will just go ahead and let everyone know. We have Jacob Bresnahan joining us on Monday.
Nice.
He was the lefty acquired for Alex Cobb. I will give Farhan credit where it's due. That is a phenomenal pull that he got on that one. Bresnahan just won minor league pitcher of the year for the Giants this season.
Wow.
So he'll be joining us Monday. We have another person that we're potentially recording with on Tuesday, and that also won't be live. So the two that we're doing not live will put out we'll probably just put out on like a Wednesday or something. We'll just pick a day, kind of space them out a little. So yeah, those are kind of what we've got coming. Hammering away a lot of these interviews this off season, trying to get Giants fans familiar with some of these guys. I know baseball doesn't do the best marketing its young players, so try and get these guys in front of Giants fans a little bit. And until there's a ton to actually talk about with the off season, whether that means they actually hire a manager or when we actually start getting into free agency and all that, there's not a ton to talk about. So it's a good time to have these guys jump on with us.
Good. Well, I found our guy that was traded for Dixon Machado that pitched in the 21 playoffs. He pitched in September. Here he is, everybody. He's now with the Tigers. Remember him?
Yeah, Curvin Castro.
He was
all he did was throw fastballs.
He was,
if I remember right.
Yeah, he was pretty good for that time he came up. Enough for them to put him on the playoff roster, and then the next thing you know, he's like, "What happened to this guy? He's just gone." But
only 26 too.
Yeah, he was young at the time he came up with the Giants. He was like 21 or something like that. Yeah. All right. Well, awesome, Cody. You made it through with the cold. Hope you and your daughter feel better. And we'll definitely have to get together in the off season as things happen. You guys, if you're watching here on NorCal Sports Network, go on over to Even Year Dynasty show on YouTube. Cody, Dan, and Ricky, they do a great job, and they cover the Giants all year. You'll get some minor league reports on that channel, and you'll get some real good analysis of the current big league club, what's happening. So I enjoy watching you guys when I get the chance to do so. And it's great. It maybe what we'll do, I think we probably should do maybe a joint stream, a collab with all your guys, and we'll have Dallas and I on together, and then we can talk up some Giants baseball. It's watching these playoffs, and you see how exciting the playoffs are, and you see the crowd, and literally it's the you watch the NBA playoffs, right? And it gets tight in the fourth quarter and stuff like that. And but literally in the playoffs, it's like almost every pitch you're on the edge of your chair, because a long ball gets served up and, it changes the entire game, and you never know when it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And you see the intensity. You watched last night's game know you were on, so you didn't get to see the final, but they were saying on the air that the Seattle fans, they don't think they sat down the entire game. They were
I believe
standing,
it. Yeah.
And they're starving up there in Seattle for a championship team. But you go back to 10, 12, and 14, and you saw the electricity at Oracle Park, and you saw Steve Perry from Journey waving his flag and singing to Don't Stop Believing, and the crowd is just unbelievable. And man, we got to get that. We're not a small market team.
No.
We need to be in the playoffs, and we need to not shoot for the third wild card. I'm hoping the trajectories for the division, and maybe you settle for the first wild card. But
yeah, absolutely. I mean, and you look at the Giants' attendance this year. They jumped up like 275,000 fans. I mean, they were up around 2.9 at the end of the year. They are, I think, easily they're going to clear 3 million fans next season, especially if they have Bryce up all year. Like you give guys like Adames, Devers, Bryce in that lineup, like fans are going to show up, especially the first time Bryce puts one in the Cove. Devers got his out of the way, but the first time Bryce puts one in the Cove, this place is going to be nuts. If him and Devers put a couple early, the Cove is going to be packed. Like it'll start being a pretty fun venue when it's hopping like that. So
interesting. Mark Graves just put this up here, and I am going to pull that up right now, that tweet on.
Yeah, I saw that before we hopped on.
Okay, there it is, 48 minutes ago. JT Snow, and he's got the blue check mark. I have connection to the organization, never been invited back, but I think Stephen Vogt will be the next manager.
I mean,
interesting. Now, if that's true, that means that maybe Nick doesn't want to take the job at this point. And Stephen Vogt grew up a Giants fan in the Central Valley. And, he played with the A's, but his dream was the Giants. And, I would be thrilled with that.
I wanted him 2 years ago. So
I don't know. How do you get him though? Do you have to trade for him? He's under contract.
Yeah. And I mean, and who knows? I mean, sometimes a team will like release a guy from the that's what the Padres did with Melvin. They were just like, see ya. They let him go. I can't imagine Cleveland is looking to just get nothing for him. But I mean, I don't even remember the last.
What kind of player?
Was it like back in like Pinella or something like that? Who's the last manager for player trade that actually happened where they actually sent a decent player back?
Yeah. I mean, if let's say this was to come to fruition, what type of player would be realistically in a deal? You're not talking a Ramos or anything like that.
I think they'd be out of their mind if they would trade Ramos for
exactly.
We can all say what we want about Ramos's defense and the miscues and stuff.
That would be nuts.
But no, I mean, you're out of your mind if you trade Ramos for a.
How about Ryan Walker? I would do that deal.
I would drive down to the Bay Area and take him and walk him to the airport if I had to.
Yeah. Yeah, JT has gone rogue lately on Twitter. I screenshot a tweet when Bryce was not in the lineup against the Dodgers in the end of the season, the night after I think they were eliminated, or maybe it was against the Cardinals. It might have been against the Cardinals, something like that. I can't remember, but I still probably have it somewhere on my phone. But here was the gist of and then I think he deleted it, but it was like, Bryce not in the lineup. What the heck are we doing catering? Why aren't we playing these guys? He hits left-handed pitching. I saw him hit left-handed pitching with an 8-something OPS. He says, then he ended his tweet with no reason to watch. I was like, oh, man.
And he wonders why he doesn't get invited back.
But you know what? I love a guy.
He's not wrong, but I'm just saying.
I love a guy like that, man.
I don't think he's wrong. I just think it's funny because he's very brash about that stuff.
Okay.
And isn't scared to put it out.
There you go. Cliff Martinez. Lou Piniella was traded from Seattle to Tampa for Randy Wynn.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's the last one. I knew it was Piniella, and I should have known the win part of that. I just couldn't. I could not place the player. I was like, I think Pinella's the last one.
Cliff has got to be. I know Cliff. He's got to be happy with Francisco Mendoza, former Cal quarterback, Cuban descent, taking down Oregon today at Eugene at what is the name of that? Autzen Stadium, where Oregon went down to Indiana. Indiana is now going to move into the top 5. They were ranked 7th. This kid is 6'5" and might be, and I have no idea, but a 6'5" quarterback who has all the tools might be the number 1 draft pick in the NFL next year. Just that's what I'm thinking. Anyway, JT Snow, when keeping it real goes wrong, laughing out loud. Okay. Cliff said he didn't watch any college football. 16 hockey games. Cliff and Robert are our big hockey guys. As you can see, Robert is not happy with the Sharks blowing it today. So
it's a day that ends in Y.
Yeah. Yep. We know. Yep. We know Vogt is signed next year. We just talked about that. And if the Giants are going to get Vogt, it's going to be either a trade or Cleveland's going to maybe it's just money, maybe cash. Maybe they do it for a couple $1 million.
That would be an all-time cheap move by Cleveland. I mean, Cleveland is cheap, generally speaking. They've paid a couple guys, but usually they they're another team that like they get 1 year from free agency and they start shipping dudes out. But to lose him only 2 years into the contract,
maybe they would.
He's had success.
Yeah, 2 division titles. And
I mean,
did it without his closer.
Detroit went freaking. I mean they had a 15.5 game lead, and I think they lost that every bit as much as Cleveland won it. Like it's not like Cleveland.
I think it's the latest collapse since the 51 Brooklyn Dodgers.
Yeah,
just number of games. It was brutal. Yeah, it was unreal. Yeah. Anyway, let's get out of here. Guys, go subscribe over to Even Year Dynasty Show. They do a great job over there. Thanks for watching this show tonight. Make sure you do hit the like button if you haven't done so already. We do appreciate it. I'm going to get the music on. And when I put the music on, I can't talk for 10 seconds because you can't hear me. It goes over. So here we go. All right, everybody. Hope says Vogt is such an awesome person and a very good manager. He's a great guy. He would be great for the Giants clubhouse and culture, as would Nick Hundley. I think it's Nick Hundley's job if he wants it, as Cody said. But if that is not the case because he's got a young family and he doesn't want to, tie himself down too much to the rigors of not 6 months. It's more like 8 months full time. Yeah. So
and hopefully 9 months full time.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, guys, thanks for being here again. And tomorrow night, you got NFL Sunday football tomorrow. Niners take on the Tampa Bay Bucks. Catch me on the Krug Show after that for the post game. And then you've got American League Baseball, Toronto against Seattle in Toronto, game 1. So totally appreciate it. We will catch you guys sometime tomorrow, and look for Cody on Monday on the Even Your Dining Show. Take care, everybody.